I wanted to show you the realistic look of what my Scrivener project looks like for 7th Virtue. I'm not an outliner, I'm actually a pantser. It's not pretty, it's incomplete in a lot of places. So if you're exactly like me, this is how I went about organizing my book. Right now, we're just at the novel format section. This I don't really understand because again, I don't really use Scrivener to write my book anyway. So it doesn't really need to make sense to me. What we're gonna look at on the left-hand side is manuscript, characters, notes, places, and research, though places and research are pretty blank, as well as notes, because I, again, don't take many notes in Scrivener, I take notes in Word. But let's look at the manuscript. So this is what 7th Virtue looks like in Scrivener, and it's very basic and unspecific right now because of this video. I didn't want to put like major spoilers. I feel like these are pretty vague indicators of everything that's happened in the first 9 chapters that you can see on screen. I actually have 20 chapters of this book. I'm not going to scroll down. I'm just going to show you the first 9 because I've shown you guys this before and I feel like this is fine and not too spoilery. So what I do with my chapters is I create a new folder, and in Scrivener to do that, I am not a pro at Scrivener, by the way, so don't think this is a tutorial, but what I do is I just right click and I just click add, and then there's a new folder, and it'll add a new folder into the manuscript. So as you can see, I have scene cards and they are broken down, and I will expand this folder so you can kind of see it more clearly. You can see on the left hand side where I've expanded it in the folder, I have a scene 1, which is quite literally the first scene of 7th Virtue. If you read the writing, you can totally do that. Just know that I wrote 10,000 words in one day of this book and I have not edited that first page. You can judge me, it's fine, I don't care. If you want more things to judge me by, I am getting my degree in creative writing, and this is the best I could do. This is basically my hub for how I remember things that happen in my book. My short-term memory is very bad. I can't remember what happens in my book, even though I wrote it. So because of that, I decided to start making scene cards that I could quickly refer to while I'm drafting. For example, I'm on chapter 21 now because I have chapter 20 outlined already. And so I can refer quickly back to what happened in chapter 6. What I do when I finish a chapter in Word of my book, I go into Scrivener and I make one of these bad boys. So one of these folders. The most recent one that I made, of course, was Bloody Hands. Once I make the folder, I go in and I skim over each scene in my Word document. So what I did is I went into Word and I kind of looked at the scene and I was like, okay, what happened in that scene? And I've come in and I've summarized that here. So scene 1 is Harrison gets fired as a potter's apprentice, a weekly occurrence due to health complications. And then I did that for the rest of the scenes as well. So I just go in chronological order and scroll through the document and quite literally be like, what is scene A about? What is scene B about? What is scene C about? And just to note, I do call them scene A and then scene 1. Like I have 2 titles. The reason why I do that is because I used to run a blog, and I still run it now, but I used to frequently make writing updates, and I would refer to the scenes by letters and then sometimes refer to them by numbers. So I think it's just easiest for me if I refer to them as both, just in case I need to refer to them as either or. Another reason why I have decided, so looking at chapter 1, which is called Play Again, to quickly summarize what happens in each scene is because writing log lines is a skill, and in order to get better at a skill, you've got to practice it. And I don't think that I'm excluded from that. So I find that summarizing scenes is fantastic for getting better at log lines because it forces you to think very small. Now, I have kind of vagified these for the video, so you can be as specific as you want. Usually what I like to do is just give 1 sentence. I don't like to even give 2, just 1 sentence that tells me what the chapter was about. So I have done that for literally every single one of my chapters. And on the left-hand side, you can also see that, of course, I name all of my chapters. I do this again as a titling exercise. So you'll also notice on the left-hand side of this manuscript format that I have a couple of underscores. If you look at chapter 16, True Gem, there's an underscore R, and then chapter 18 is Rat Experiment, which is underscore R as well. That was my very quick and dirty method of differentiating what point of view character was actually narrating the chapter, like in terms of, this is a third person book, so who the third person narrator was limited to. It's easy for me to look at this and be like, oh, okay, True Gem chapter 16 is Reeves' head fully. That is basically it for manuscript format. If I look at it here, like, again, it's just kind of very basically laid out. This is how I like to do it, like I said, because it gives me a quick reminder and it's not complicated. It takes me maybe 2 or 3 minutes per chapter after I finish writing them, which is great because I don't like outlining, so it's perfect for me. So I don't have to spend that much time on it. So now we can look at characters, which has a lot of fun. So characters is a thing that I actually haven't filled out at all. So actually I only have characters in 3 roosts. So there are several types of families in my book called roosts, as in like bird roost, because they're run by birds pretty much. So 7th roost here, you can see if I expand it on the left hand side, you'll see all these folders. These folders just basically hold all the characters that are relevant to each roost. So if I click on that, you'll see I have this very mishmash thing of all these characters, but I will say there's no information on the inside. The most I think is on Lonan and Harrison. The reason why I made this is because I just like being able to very quickly at a glance visually see what characters are in my book, and they also seem to have faces. I made these faces, some of them are pick crews, and then the 2 at the top of Lonan and Harrison are my art, and the one of Reeve is my sister's art that she made of Reeve. The reason why I like having them here is so that if, you know, I forgot who my character is, like I said, a bad memory, it's very easy for me to refer to, oh, okay, they're actually, oh, there's a Kate in this book. Good to know. Yeah. So if we click on each individual character, I'm supposed to do character profiles, but like I said, this is realistic and I didn't. So Izzy is the mother, like the, what is it that I called it in these books? I should know. The ace of the family. I should probably have a role in the story, her birthday. And I think they have this template in Scrivener for characters, but as you can see, I never filled it out. But it's here if I ever feel compelled to do it. Literally the age is not even right because I just copy and pasted, I think, from Lonan's. This is just for the pictures. I like the pictures and I want to see the pictures. 3rd roost is the same thing. This is the Peterson family and they are so cute. The only people that don't have pick crews are like the children, and that's just because I couldn't find a good pick crew maker for kids, but if you know one, let me know. And that is just, again, a very quick reference. I have used these pick crews several times actually when I'm like writing with a character and I'm like, what are they supposed to look like? Because I can't remember what I had decided on. Notes, I don't really have anything in notes. Chapter notes and alt POV outlines. So this folder is just something that I was doing when I thought I was going to add several different points of view to 7th Virtue. World building, this was important before I ended up making a different document, which is in my video on how I world built a world out of nothing, which I will link in the description as well if you want something a little more comprehensive than this chaotic Scrivener breakdown. Virtue breakdowns, as you can see, was just me naming the roost, naming the virtue, and then naming the sin, naming the virtue's name, which the virtue is the capital V virtue is the bird that runs each family. Their magic theme, their status, which I don't even know what I meant by that, like whether or not they're alive or dead, probably. Their location of, you know, where the family's located. Because this takes place in the US, the only ones that I know so far are the ones that take place in New York State. It's very basic. I used to refer to this a lot before I actually created all of the world building stuff that I did in Camp NaNoWriMo for July 2022, which I have several videos on. Like I said, the magic system video would go over like how exactly I took this literal vague 5 bullet point system and turned it into an entire magic system. Then finally, I have the Save the Cat beat sheet, which is not actually filled out. It's just in case I want to really quickly refer to it. I have it copy and pasted in a document in terms of sort of like following quote unquote a template. It's just good to know so that I'm sure that I'm hitting a beat, or like if I'm taking too long on something when I'm re-outlining, I can be like, oh, okay, this was actually part of, you know, Break Into Two, for example. The last thing that I have is research, but I didn't do anything in here. I don't really take notes in Scrivener just because I already have a system for that. That leads me to the end of this video where I'm going to open up this cover that you can look at instead of just looking at my bizarre Scrivener. I do have a video on how I organize my actual writing documents. So if you liked this video on how I have gone about organizing my Scrivener, check that one out. Let me know how you use Scrivener, if you do use Scrivener. If you don't use Scrivener, what do you currently use and why do you like the system that you currently have? Let me know in the comments. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in another video. Bye.